guys, welcome here. I'm the creator of this framework UX Burner, and it's really happy to have you all here to share what I have experienced with this framework and the learnings that I had with many conferences and communities. So these challenges are not uncommon. I usually hear in every communities and conferences, and the point of doing this exercise is basically to, once I'm done with the keynote and do some reflection, during that part of reflection, you will try to resonate how UX Burner framework can help you in addressing those challenges, and that's the reason we thought, oh, maybe the wound exercise could help you. So since in the interest of time, I would like to give a short introduction to the whole UX Burner framework with this keynote. We had a long journey. We started this discovering the challenges of many Agile software development team and the UX team, how we can harmonize the practices together since 2016. Then we spent like about a year of research, talking to experts in communities, LinkedIn forums, and then we also read about methodologies. And then in 2017, we thought that, okay, finally we found a reliable solution that would work and can be a better version of the other existing frameworks out there in the market. And we thought of, okay, let's use the framework in our product development and see if it's really working, and we tested ourselves for about a year. And then we thought now it's time to share with the communities, and we have been visiting big conferences like World Usability Congress in Austria and Convey UX in Seattle, and all with the notion of seeing if this framework is really creating value for the community. To start with explaining why UX Burner is needed in this world, I would like to give a explanation about a case study on the product development called VCX, which is a vehicle compliance expert. It is a software that helps compliance industries to get their vehicles type approval from the authorities to run on the streets. It's our one product. We wanted to become a product company, and we started investing in products, and this was our first product. It's a compliance document software, which means it takes the manual work in the compliance industry, and our software helps to digitalize their effort through this VCX. We started in 2016, and we followed Scrum framework as our Agile software development method. We also had room for experiments, which means back in the time we had challenges in harmonizing UX design practices with Scrum, and we thought of maybe we need to improve really well in that area, and we had room for experiments as well. So this was our team. We had one product owner and one development team with 4 to 7 developers and one tester, QA, and we always had a UX team with UX specialists from official UX background, from usability engineering and human-computer interaction. And they were always 2 or 3 UX designers, part of the product team, but always working up front, which is against being Agile. And then we had 2 weeks sprint cadence. So this is how it looked back in the day in 2016 when we started with our product development. So when we zoom out, we had our design team spending like weeks or months investing their time picking UX methods, like from their toolkit, user-centered design toolkit, and they try to do user research, talk to customers, analyze the data, try to ideate, prototype, test it, and then they want to make sure that the design is validated first, and then they want to hand off. And the time that they arrive at handoff was really huge, and the developers don't want to wait that long. And it was in the case that the developers started with their own work, and it was troublesome.
So you can say it was waterfall within Agile,
yeah,
right?
It was a waterfall process, actually. Like these challenges, I want to highlight some of the challenges we had in our product. So design was always implementation heavy because the developers were not really informed about the UI decisions that the designers will make. They were not part of the user research activities or the ideation sessions that the designers were doing at the time. So during sprint planning, there was a big surprise for on refinements when they tried to estimate the user stories. When they had these high-end designs, they found it difficult to estimate because somewhere also was technologically not possible. and would have helped if the developers were involved earlier. And UX were often not prioritized equally in the sprint backlog because the time that the designers took was really long, and the task were not break down into user stories that an entire team can give a buy-in and ownership that UX is a responsible thing for the whole team. It was not explicit in the backlog. They have to work somehow themselves and then bring the handoffs to the team. And there was always inconclusive results. The results, whatever research methods the designers did at the end, were always never-ending process. We didn't stop with one specific decision, and we couldn't convince our customers and the business. And due to this time cap, we were in a hurry to push the code early, and we didn't spend time in frequently involving customers in our design process, or even after development, we didn't have time to evaluate the deployed solution as well. So these are some of the things. So here is the challenge that we had in general when we are trying to design a framework to address the challenges we had and also the other product teams in the communities had. So we need to think about just one process, shouldn't be two different, like one specific design framework and also a Scrum, and at the same time we need to bring the whole team accountable for the activities that they are doing in the framework. And at the same time we need to have activities that are lightweight, because Scrum is short time framed and you can't do a month of user research or 1 day of design workshop, for example. So that we also need to think about a lightweight workshop activities that can help designers to give their input. At the same time, they don't feel that UX is a big discipline, and we really need designers on board in our product team so that they will help us with their input. No, it's not like that. So we need to democratize the way we need to work, and that's why the workshops also was designed in a way that everyone can give input. So these are all some of the activities from the whole framework, UX Burner framework. So whenever a team is stuck and want to explore the problem space as a team, then they can start doing a Burner Canvas workshop. So all the workshops here we are talking about, for example, Burner Canvas and design workshops are just time boxed, not more than 3 hours in sprint cycles. So problem analysis is basically team explore the problem space. They start from problem, and then they think about a hypothesis and then metrics to validate the hypothesis, and then they go towards the solution space and to define the scope of MVP. So the details of these exercise, the steps of all these workshops are really clearly documented if you check out UX Burner in Medium. I would recommend you to check after this talk so that you can get a deep understanding of these workshops in detail. And so when the team would like to ideate on concepts like sketching, being more bringing the MVP live through something abstract, then they will start the design workshop. And during development, a designer and developer will pair together. They will sit when they are together in the same building. They sit next to each other. They try to have task and work together, where a developer can give input and where a designer can sharing and sharing. And we have this habit of always testing the sprint outcome with the end customer, so that we want to make sure that we are creating customer value with our prototypes and also with our deployed solution. So now you might wonder, this guy would like to once again introduce a design sprint into a Scrum or what? No, that's not the case, and you don't need all the activities necessarily for the user stories you have in your product backlog. That's why we introduced a strategy called UX levels. It basically helps anyone in your Scrum team to plan your UX effort from epics to user stories. So it includes 4 conditions, starting from level 1 to level 4. You have level 1 with uncertainties on problem. If you think an epic is something really blurry when it comes to problem space and you need a strong understanding of your problem, then possibly you need to start with UX level 1 set of activities in your Scrum process, in your sprint. It starts with the uncertainties that you have with your problem, UX level 1. For that, you need to execute all these UX Burner activities in your sprint. Burner Canvas, scoping the MVP, starting from problem, doing ideation through design workshop, prototyping the concept, pairing and sharing during the development, and also for the stories that you want to test. And level 2, you can, if you think that Okay, we are clear about the problem space now. We just need to nail down the UI details, and you need to have an ideation session. Basically, involve the developers, think about running a design studio. The Lean UX called as design studio, but yeah, basically you go through certain steps, and at the end you will have a solution sketches where your team can later build a prototype and test it with the customers. And then at level 3, if you are sure about the design details, okay, we are sure how the design should look. We just have to figure out where the button should go and how the simple flow could look like. If you think it's not worth enough to doing design workshop, right away go to prototype and then follow. And if you have no uncertainties, then directly, okay, the solution is clear, let's build the code and then ship it. Work with the developer together, do parent share, because the developer will have questions. How should the UI look like? Can I change the color? Where should the button look like? Where should the call to action be present in the UI? All these discussion can be more proactive if you have parent share. Instead of having Slack communication, just proactively sit next to a developer, a designer sits and then discuss that. And then at the end we have internal demo at the end of the sprint. Basically, the goal of internal demo is once we have user tests done before sprint review, you will have data, like both on the prototype and on the deployed solution. So we test both the artifacts from the sprint, and then we get the data, use this short time box internal demo meeting to share with the whole team, where the developers will also listen. We invested our time in problem solving and ideation, now we have real customer feedback, and now that's a great thing for the developers to know early. So this is how it looks when you have UX levels in your product backlog. Your PO can take a look at the UX level, sit with the designer and assess, hey, what level this user epics and user story can belong. Then you can assess all these stuffs, and then you can plan your sprints accordingly. So this is how our sprint backlog look like. You have discovery stories and delivery stories. So basically, discovery stories are the stories that needs discovery. Basically, you need to get customer feedback starting from problem and exploration to end user validation. And delivery means those are all which have already validated, customer validated. So it looks like this. You will run that, and this is how a calendar week for a one. So we have been running a 2-week sprint. Once we started introducing this framework, we thought of, okay, let's try 1-week sprint, because when we had this 2-week sprint, when we are running these workshops, we still had this feel of waterfall is nature of doing the exercises in one sprint and bringing back again to other, and it was problematic. That's why we wanted a short iteration, so we stick to 1-week sprints. So we had regular Scrum ceremonies, and alongside we do discovery activities like workshops, prototyping, all these steps in the same sprint. So we plan so that it's achievable in a single sprint. We focus on 2 things, like a balance with velocity and balance on the learning, because we also need to deliver customer value through the discovery activities, and also we need to deliver code, right? Ship the features that we already validated. So that's the decision we had to take internally in order to have high quality user experience for our product. Like, we need to have continuous learning, and at the same time we should avoid risk of investing in something that doesn't create customer value. So we do this discovery and development in the same for user stories. So at the end, if you follow this UX Corner framework, you will have this approach of no design team will not work separately. Let's work as a one team, because there are the activities help teams to have the habit, to develop a habit, to feel ownership for the UX, because at the end it's all about customer experience that can make your product successful in the market. So you will have this ownership, and no matter what UX activities your UX designers recommend, try to keep it time boxed and use lightweight approaches that the developers can give input to those activities, because there are some specific UX methods that only a designer can give input, and they have expertise in those methods. So you need to design lightweight methods that fits this one. And also have a habit of getting feedback early and often. Make sure that you test everything, and often, like Lean UX, there is a principle of whatever artifact you created with your whole team, it's worth testing that, because you can also test if your problem statement is valid. You can also test your storyboard, for example, and sketches, all these stuff. So 2 lessons we learned at the end when we had when we tried UX Burner in our product development team, we realized that, okay, I think we have some improvements to going away from this waterfallish nature of doing design and development work. And also, in order to build a high quality user experience in our product, we thought everyone there should be somehow developers should also have a responsibility of the user experience, and the whole team should care about UX in general. So that's the two product mindset shift we had once we have been running this framework. That's it for the keynote part. Now we would like to give a taste of one specific activity from the UX Burner framework. So it's a part of the Burner Canvas workshop. And basically, when your team is uncertain about the problem, you will do an exploration. And now I will hand over.
keep going.
So in Burner Canvas workshop, it's a 3 hours time box workshop. The team will start in structured way of breaking down the problem to a problem definition, which you will be doing now. And hypothesis, metrics, and at the end you will scope the MVP by doing storyboard and how many. So you go from abstract, you have no idea about the problem, at the end you will have MVP, you will have sure about what's the smallest thing that we can build with the least effort to learn customer feedback and check if it creates customer value or not. So now, the first step is problem definition exercise of the Burner Canvas workshop. You can learn more about the details of the Burner Canvas workshop in the Medium blog. So now we will kickstart with this problem statement exercise, which will be about 30 minutes, which is more like a deep dive exercise, not like the warm-up exercise. Yeah, okay, thank you.
So, really quick on what we're going to do. So you already saw Canvas as part of the first step on the first level with the longest learning curve, right? How does that work? So we already went. We will work on a problem statement with you, so trying to figure out what does the customer actually want, what is in a specific context a problem we can solve, and how could we do that. So everybody is probably familiar with this, so maybe you are asking why would you make that any better, because going out with friends for dinner is actually pretty good already, but possibly there is a way. So you have the context, important that you know this fairly well, and that's why we didn't go with anything abstract. And you can already see on the walls there are a couple of things prepared. You can use them, and it's basically the same as you see here on the sheet. So what we like you to do is think about user roles that you can come up with. So during dining, who is there? Who is at a restaurant? This is a business that is run. Who works there? Who goes there for fun? Important thing in the end is try to go to one user role only. So pick one, and then think about activities that happen in the restaurant. So if it's a waiter, he probably brings food. He brings the bill at some point. So things like that. Keep it fairly high level. One of the things we often see is that it gets too detailed, and then you will find in the steps part. So creating really the details of what happens. There you get into trouble because you're already too detailed here. So this is really just understanding the context of the problem more. And then we pick one of those activities again. So we can see explore, really brainstorm, nothing is wrong, anything goes. But then you need to select again one of those activities, and you break it down into steps. And once that's done, the last point, you can see just here, this will formulate your problem statement in the end, which would be, if you go back, down from the problem definition, the next input in the next steps. So, and one thing I noticed while you talk, lots of information, and you mentioned Medium already, so you have that on the slides later, right? Where you can find more detailed information as well for you to read. So it's later on the slides, so you don't need to remember everything.
So it's basically, I had this notion of writing a book, and I tried some items. O'Reilly was there, and the project got broke down, and then I thought, okay, let's make this open source. I thought of writing a DIY guide, so I used Medium as a platform to push all the workshop activities so that anyone can use step by step in their Scrum teams. So,
okay. So for this, I think we set up 6 workspaces. You can use all 6. You can also use only 4 or so, depending. We just thought we don't organize you. We are all from an Agile background, so we probably self-organize fairly well. So just find groups, people you want to
So
work
maybe
with.
we can just show where are those spaces, right? So here we have 2 spaces, one inside the room on the wall, the second one is here on the glass, third one is here next to Fabian, one is there, another one on the windows next to the kitchen, and the last one is if you go in the middle of the kitchen and turn left, there you will find the white one. So I think we have 20 people around, so I think,
Don't organize.
yes, 20 people we have.
Okay, so we will be walking around. If you have questions, approach us, and we'll let you also know the times. First thing, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes.